A White House welcome for a president looking for friendship. Trailed as talks for new trade agreements and a chance to reset relations between the United States and South Africa.
Thank you very much for being here.
Cyril Ramaphosa wanted to talk business.
Thank you very much.
And with golfing royalty Ernie Els and Retief Goosen among the South African delegation appealing to Trump's favourite pastime. It started off friendly enough, but the situation quickly derailed.
What will it take for you to be convinced that there's no white genocide in South Africa?
Well, I can answer that. It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans.
Another ambush of a visiting dignitary.
Turn the lights down.
This film, a montage of rallies held by the Communist Opposition Party, chanting for the deaths of white farmers. It made for uncomfortable viewing, prompting disbelief among the South African delegation.
Burial sites, over 1,000 of white farmers.
The White House says this is proof of persecution, but there are questions over the veracity and motivation of the Trump administration in its pursuit of its discredited claims.
Have they told you where that is, Mr. President? No, I'd like to know where that is.
South Africa accepts that law and order is a continuing challenge, but totally rejects the allegation that white people are disproportionately targeted by crime.
Death, death, death. They're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land.
Cyril Ramaphosa tried as hard as he could to stay diplomatic.
Let me clarify that, because what you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy.
Yes.
Elon Musk looked on silently. He's been amplifying the claims of genocide on his social media platform. But he didn't need to say anything here. The president's attack on South Africa was complete. Cyril Ramaphosa came here knowing that he'd be in for a really hard time trying to convince Donald Trump that his claims of a genocide in South Africa was simply not true. But the South African president could not have expected a Zelensky-style ambush here in the Oval Office of the White House.
Welcome to the United States of America.
The Afrikaner families who sought refuge in America earlier this year have had their claims fast-tracked, whilst other refugees fleeing war have been denied entry. Their cause has now blown up on a world stage that even they would have not thought possible. Ashish Joshi, Sky News in Washington.
Our Africa correspondent, Yusra El-Bagir, joins us live from Johannesburg. So there was a good deal of pressure, wasn't there, on Cyril Ramaphosa going into this meeting. What has been the fallout since?
Well, people here have been banking on their president to go in and save the day and try and relieve the country of the fallout of the deterioration of US-South African relations over the last 5 months. He went into that meeting, President Cyril Ramaphosa, with £6 billion hanging in the balance. And he's come out of it in a press briefing to journalists saying that he's happy with the outcome, that he thinks the meeting was a big success, and that he was relieved ultimately that there was no disengagement from the US. He said that the whole point of the meeting was to encourage more investment from the US foreign direct investment, and that he expects to see President Donald Trump here in South Africa for the G20 in November later this year, and that he hopes to have meetings with him again, both before the G20, but not anytime soon, but at the G20 summit. But he did also say that there is no genocide in South Africa. And he said this in response to a question about how he felt with a false genocide, disproven genocide, being equated with the anti-apartheid struggle that he lived as a Black South African, the oppression that he experienced. And he said, of course, there is no genocide in South Africa, and it cannot be equated to the struggle. So that point about the genocide that has been disproven by crime stats, has been disproven by agricultural stats that show that the farming industry here is thriving, is the main point of contention. And that is what was put up, the wall that was put up by President Trump, with those videos that have been proven to be outdated, with a video of President Cyril Ramaphosa's, one of his leading opponents here, a black nationalist politician, Julius Malema, saying kill the Boer, violent rhetoric that he is currently being charged for in the courts here. All of this was quite an offensive for President Cyril Ramaphosa to deal with, and he's come out on the other side saying it went as well as he would have hoped.
Yusra in Johannesburg, thank you. To breaking news now, Tottenham Hotspur have just beaten Man United to claim victory in their Europa League clash. Our sports correspondent Rob Harris joins us live from Bilbao in Spain. Two below-par teams, Rob, I think it's fair to say, but tonight one very lucrative win for Spurs.
Yes, a win that ends a 17-year trophy drought for Tottenham, but also secures a place in the Champions League. And with it, that could be worth £100 million. And for Manchester United, as the losers, they miss out on that bounty because both of these teams will finish in the Premier League just above the relegation zone. So no chance of Europe for Manchester United. Tottenham securing this victory in the Europa League final with just one shot on target. It came in the 42nd minute here in Bilbao. Brennan Johnson scoring the only goal of the match. There was some thought maybe it was an own goal from Luke Shaw, but it was given to the Welsh forward. Tottenham held on throughout the second half. An acrobatic clearance from the line from the Tottenham defender, Mickey van der Ven, protecting that lead. And Tottenham winning their first European trophy since the previous guys of this competition, the UEFA Cup in 1984. But for Tottenham, they've endured 4 losing finals, including a Champions League final since they won the League Cup in 2008. For such a team that's been challenging at the top of the Premier League over all these years, it's been something that really has weighed them down, been ridiculed for it, this trophy drought. But these Tottenham fans back at the stadium as well in North London, and the players here on the pitch here in Bilbao can celebrate, and particularly for Ange Postecoglou, the manager, ridiculed as a clown. He said yesterday he's not a clown, ending this trophy drought, and although he could be heading potentially towards the exit given the gloom, given the poor Premier League form. And for Manchester United, a summer of rebuilding awaits. They changed managers in mid-season with Ruben Amorim coming in. He couldn't turn around their fortunes, and now facing a costly defeat here. But for Tottenham tonight, it is a long-awaited night of celebrations here in the Basque Country. They beat Manchester United 1-0 in the Europa League final.
Yeah, the celebrations, as we can see, just beginning. Rob, thank you very much. Now, after months of political pressure, the Prime Minister has signalled a U-turn on his controversial cuts to winter fuel payments. Sir Keir Starmer rejected claims that backbench dissent was behind the reversal, insisting that it's because the economy has improved. Downing Street won't say when the changes will take effect. Our political correspondent Rob Powell has more.
From its announcement last summer,
those not in receipt of pension credit or certain other means-tested benefits will no longer receive the winter fuel payment.
And at every opportunity since,
I took the choice to make sure our economy was stable.
The government has insisted that cuts to winter fuel payments were staying.
Prime Minister.
Now, a change.
I recognise that people are still feeling the pressure of the cost of living crisis, including pensioners. And that is why we want to ensure that as we go forward, more pensioners are eligible for winter fuel payments.
The Conservative leader eventually questioning the move.
I'm going to ask him a simple question. It only requires one word, yes or no. Is he planning to U-turn on winter fuel cuts?
Yeah. Yes. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I made clear in my earlier answer that as the economy improves, we want to take measures that will impact on people's lives, and therefore we will look at the threshold.
But there's little detail from the government or the Tories on who should keep the payment.
You don't think it should be reinstated in full? This shouldn't be a return to where we were
12 months ago.
We have always said that the winter fuel payment is something that we believed in. 14 years we kept it. We did not change it for 14 years. Now, if there are budget pressures, you can look at people, perhaps who are millionaires, who don't necessarily need it, but you shouldn't take it off the backs of people who are earning £11,000 a year.
Specifics are now due in the autumn budget, but there's no guarantee that payments will be restored in time for this winter. The government insists this move is down to an improving economic picture. In reality, you can't disentangle this from Labour's plunging popularity. Campaigners say cuts to winter fuel payments are brought up repeatedly on the doorstep, so much so that concern had started to spread across the party and even to those usually sympathetic to the Downing Street agenda. In Croydon, views from voters echoed by many in the country.
So much has been robbed out of pensioners' pay packets over the years by both governments. It's now time to remedy that situation.
It's a good idea because a lot of people need it and don't claim what they're entitled to.
It's a bit late, but he should do something about it. It's not so much him, it's the Chancellor.
Speaking to Sky News, the Labour Prime Minister who brought in winter fuel payments backed the move while also voicing concern about other welfare changes.
You've got to be fair to, obviously, people who are suffering because of any changes in the benefit system. So I don't want to see anybody pushed into poverty as a result of that. And you've got to be fair to pensioners. I think there is a case, for example, for people on the top rate of tax not receiving it, but that's something the government has got to decide.
Cutting winter fuel, a decision just too difficult to keep. But with other backbench battles to fight, walking away from this policy may just up the pressure to ditch others too.
And Rob is in Downing Street for us tonight. So, Rob, just how awkward is this U-turn for the Prime Minister?
Yeah, Jonathan, I think many around the country will raise an eyebrow at the explanation that this is essentially down to the improving economy, not least on the day that inflation data jumped to 3.5%, and with plenty of people feeling the pinch after bills and things like council tax going up and being hiked last month. All that said, the prime mover of this is not economic, it is political. It is the ammunition that's handed to the opposition with this policy, and it is the concern and anger felt on the doorstep among voters and received by campaigners and MPs in the run-up to those local elections and a by-election earlier this month. And it's led to an important moment because this was held up right from the beginning as an example of an administration prepared to take difficult decisions. Well, the point of a difficult decision, I guess, is it's difficult, that you get flack, that sparks fly, but you hold steady anyway. And what today has shown is that actually Keir Starmer can be pushed around a bit, that he might change if the scale of opposition is large enough. And whilst I think the plan in number 10, or the hope even, is for this to calm down rebel MPs, concerned backbenchers, I suggest it might have the opposite effect, because already today you've got some Labour MPs saying, OK, this is a good start, but we're arguably even more concerned about some of the changes to the benefit system that Gordon Brown was talking about in that interview with Sophie Ridge. You've U-turned on winter fuel, now U-turn on that. And I think it's there that the government gets hamstrung a little bit, because if this is about reaping the rewards of an improving economy, why prioritise pensioners, people may ask? What about people, disabled people, seeing their benefits cut? What about children living in households affected by the two-child cap? So it prompts more difficult questions. And I suppose the broader risk is of the government getting into that sort of well-worn trap of doing a U-turn that is so protracted and causes so many further problems that actually the end result for the Prime Minister is that, politically speaking, it does more bad than good.
OK, Rob, in Downing Street for now. Thank you. To the Middle East next. Israel's Prime Minister said tonight that his country will continue its military campaign until it controls all of Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu rejected growing international condemnation of Israel's actions, insisting that aid is getting into the Strip. But the United Nations says the shipments are not getting through and hundreds of thousands of people are facing catastrophic hunger. Our Middle East correspondent Alistair Bunkle has this report.
When the IDF issues evacuation orders, Gazans only have a few hours to move. This was Khan Yunis. It's now mostly a combat zone. Our team filmed these pictures as they too were fleeing for safety.
يقفوا معانا يضغطوا على إسرائيل كلهم الصمت على أدائهم حطوا خلصوا فيهم متكممات بدهم يشحكوا خايفين على كراسيهم.
الله طلبوا منا أخلاء وين أخلينا؟ هاي المرة 20 بنخلي.
طب وين رايحين؟ كيف؟
على البحر. على البحر. والله زي ما أنت شايف على رجلينا ماشيين 15 كيلو ماشيين على رجلينا.
The effort of pushing his nephew in a wheelchair through the sand and in the heat is exhausting. His knees buckle and he collapses with exhaustion. The mental and physical strength needed to repeatedly pack up and move is just too much for some.
والله بنموت يا الله والله حرام يقتلونا أرياح. تعبنا يا الله شيء دخلونا مساعدات احنا بدنا شاكل. احنا بدنا الحرب تقف. تعبنا والله تعبنا يا الله والله اللي حملنا مش حيوانات احنا بشر. وين الدول وين العالم؟ احنا بنموت ولادنا بموتوا طفلة زي هاي تحمل دول. حرام عليكم. حرام عليكم نموت.
This was the scrum for food at a soup kitchen near Gaza City today. They get one bowl each to feed a family for an entire day. Nearby, an airstrike hit as people were queuing to make bread at a bakery. Israel is now allowing a limited level of aid in, but the UN says that very little has actually been distributed and hundreds of trucks are needed.
WFP is doing everything possible to get the necessary permissions and clearances to bring in at least 100 trucks a day, with emergency food and other aid in the coming days.
Tonight in a press conference, Benjamin Netanyahu acknowledged the need for aid to get into Gaza, but was defiant about Israel's ultimate goal, to control Gaza.
Our forces are capturing more and more territory, eliminating and clearing out Hamas terrorists. All of the Gaza Strip will be under the security control of Israel.
Western opposition to Israel's offensive has hardened considerably in recent days and won't be helped by the IDF firing warning shots at Western diplomats, including a British delegation in the West Bank town of Jenin today. The IDF said that it would investigate, but a number of European countries have demanded an immediate explanation. In northern Gaza, 2 airstrikes hit a family home and a shelter. 22 people were killed, half of them women and children, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. 2 children, aged 7 and 2, lie side by side in the morgue. The IDF said it gave warnings and they were targeting a Hamas command center. The Israeli Air Force has struck 115 sites in Gaza over the last 24 hours. Ground troops and the Israeli Navy have also carried out attacks. The death toll is still rising dramatically as the IDF operations continue to escalate. Alistair Bungle, Sky News, in Jerusalem.
Back here, and police say Liam Ohana, who performs with the controversial Irish band Kneecap, has been charged with a terrorism offence. It relates to the allegations about the displaying of a flag in support of Hezbollah. Our correspondent Matthew Thompson is here in the studio. Just remind us of the background to this.
Sure. So, as you say, you know, Kneecap themselves, the Irish rap group, they're not strangers to controversy. They caused a bit of a stir at Coachella Festival in America last month with comments about Palestine. In the aftermath of that controversy, videos then emerged of various gigs they'd done here in the UK. And last month, the Met said that it was investigating a number of these videos in relation to, for example, they had allegedly called for British MPs to be killed. They had allegedly displayed support for Hamas and Hezbollah. And it's in relation to one of these videos, we understand, the charges have now been brought. Allegedly, Liam Ohana, also known as Mo Cara, stage name meaning my friend in Irish, has been charged with allegedly displaying a flag in support of Hezbollah, which is a proscribed organisation in the UK, and thus it's illegal to support them. Now, Kneecap previously, in relation to the other controversies, had put a statement out denying that they had called for any individuals to be killed and denying any support for Hamas and Hezbollah. And actually this evening they've just posted on their Instagram a typically expletive-laden statement basically saying that we are clearer than ever on who we are and what we stand for. We will have a short statement soon, free Palestine. So they don't seem to be in of a mind to stop any of this. They're playing Glastonbury this summer. They're also headlining a festival in London this weekend. Remains to be seen what impact, if any, all of this will have on those gigs. And Mr. Ohana is due to appear in court next month on the 18th of June to answer these charges.
OK, Matthew, for now, thank you. Now, the woman who was teaching a dance class in Southport when 3 young girls were stabbed to death has told Sky News why she's campaigning for the use of blunt-tipped kitchen knives. Leanne Lucas received life-threatening injuries when she too was stabbed in the attack in July last year. Caterina Vitozzi reports.
I never ever thought I'd be talking about things like this, but since what happened in July, I really can't sit still and not say how I feel.
Last summer in Southport, Leanne Lucas survived the unimaginable. A brutal knife attack on the Taylor Swift-themed dance class she was running claimed the lives of B.B. King, Elsie Stankham and Alice De Silva Aguirre. 8 other girls and another adult were injured. Leanne herself had life-threatening injuries. Now, Leanne is turning the trauma of that day into a campaign she hopes will make homes and communities safer.
So at the moment, the normal design, the everyday kitchen has the pointed tip on the end of their knives. So a safer option is to go for a curved or a blunt tip knife that reduces that risk of the kitchen knife being used ever as a weapon.
Why is it the tip itself that is the issue that you're campaigning about?
When I spoke to the medical team around my injuries, the life-threatening injuries I have were the ones that were created with the tip of the knife, and they're the ones that put me in critical care, which led me to nearly dying. So since the attack in the summer, I haven't actually cooked with a pointed tip kitchen knife again.
Today, the government told us it would look at the detail of Leanne's campaign.
I'm willing to look at this. The Home Secretary has said nothing is off the table. We will look at any initiative, and I think we also need to work with retailers and manufacturers and get their views on this as well. But absolutely pay tribute to the work she's doing, and we will look at it.
Just a few miles away from Southport in Liverpool, this manufacturer has seen demand for round-tipped knives slowly growing.
Kitchen knives should be designed for use in the kitchen, not for misuse. And we're committed to helping to drive that message forward as a manufacturer, as an industry and as a responsible member of our community.
Can I ask just how you are? It's obviously deeply personal for you, this campaign.
So what happened before the incident was just pure joy. We were just having so much fun, and for that to be ruined and for everyone's life that was involved to be shattered is just not acceptable. We will not be defined by that moment. We can try and move past it, remember it always, but move past it and do people proud.
Who do you want to make proud?
Everyone that supported me, family, friends, and all the girls. That's what I was doing it for originally. It was my work was for the girls. So if I can inspire any of them, if I can show them that there's hope and there's real change came from what happened to us. We didn't sit back and say, oh, you know, that happened and we're going to let it happen to other people. If I can do that, then that's what I'll do.
A remarkable woman, Leanne Lucas, speaking to Caterina Vitozzi. Now for the second of our special reports inside Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince. Sky News has joined a Kenyan-led peacekeeping mission into the heart of gang territory in the city, which is now mostly under gang control. The Kenyans are part of the multinational security support mission, a UN-mandated police and military force hoping to curtail the violence. More than 1,000 personnel have been deployed. That's less than half the initial target. Many are from Kenya, but others are from Jamaica, the Bahamas, Guatemala and El Salvador. The mission is funded by voluntary contributions, including from the US, but around £450 million is needed annually, and only £83 million has been pledged so far. Our chief correspondent, Stuart Ramsey, and his team have joined a nighttime patrol deep inside gang territory.
A night patrol deep into the heart of Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince. In huge American-supplied armoured vehicles, Kenyan police and soldiers work their way through the streets where gangs haven't taken control. The people watch on. But this soon changes. We pass into gang territory. There is little electricity here, and there's a brooding sense of menace. The gangs are here, but hidden away. In this neighbourhood, motorcyclists are almost certainly gang spotters. The Kenyans ignore them. Using spotlights, they peer into the gloom, looking for gang movement.
Control, this is called Waito. Roger, Bomani, Pupo Namnaga.
Joshua, or we tell the other one to respond.
The first reports of gunfire are radioed in. The gunner in our vehicle prepares for the order to fire.
There's been some gunfire and we're working out where it's coming from. There's a small gunfire now.
The road is crossed there, so they definitely are there.
Convoy switches off all its lights, disappearing into the darkness. They're looking for targets. In sporadic bursts, they fire into the night.
Rounds going down.
It's deafening inside. This is a war with the gangs, and it looks it. The hideouts, people's homes where they fought from, are being destroyed in the fighting. Much of this part of the centre of Port-au-Prince is now reduced to a city of ruins. And this is the heart of the city. Behind whitewashed walls is the country's largest hospital. It's dark now, there's no activity. It's long been abandoned after continuous attacks. The patrol makes its way through narrow roadways. Manoeuvring in these vehicles is difficult and leaves them vulnerable to attack. Cars that were used as barricades being pushed aside by the Kenyans. The night missions here are to keep the gangs out of the populated areas. The areas are often divided by a single pathway the Kenyans have opened.
We want to block the routes that gangs can use to access to where the public are staying. So we block those areas so that they don't come. During the day, we do decisive patrols, very active patrols. Now we go inside where the gangs are. But during the night, we block so that they do not cross over to where the civilians are staying at night.
We pass by a Médecins Sans Frontières hospital, one of two now temporarily shut because of the threats on staff. Outside, displaced people live in their cars. They gather here hoping it's safe. They've lost their homes to the gangs.
While the patrols are really important to try to show that the local communities that there is an external presence here to take on the gangs, the key aim in the coming weeks and months, according to senior commanders, is to set up forward operating bases, FOBs. That's where the mission forces will stay within the community. Now that brings about more trust. That's the plan